Okay, so this is for our charcoal value scale. If you don't have everything you need, you can take the time now to go up and get it. So what you need is the white charcoal pencil, the black charcoal pencil, compressed charcoal, which is the square stick, and vine charcoal, which is the little round stick. And then it's helpful, not 100% necessary, but it's helpful to have a blending stump and an eraser for any smudges that you need to erase. Okay. Now, yesterday I told you about how there's two sides. There's a back and a front to the charcoal paper, and it can be a little hard to identify. But if you hold up your charcoal paper, oh, and Sam, you can come on over and get a strip. Here you go. If you hold up the charcoal paper close enough to your eyes to be able to really see the difference, you can see one side of your charcoal paper is very smooth, and one side of your charcoal paper has some lines on it and a little bit of texture to it. So the side of the paper where you can see lines and texture is the front. That's the side you draw on. You want to draw on the textured side. You don't want to draw on the smooth side. You can draw on the smooth side. It's not, unheard of. Some people like to draw on the smooth side. But it's helpful to draw on the textured side because that texture helps to grip the medium and have a little bit less dust. Okay, so find the smooth side, which is the back, and the first thing you want to do is put your name.
Oh, me?
Yeah, not my name, your name, obviously.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so your name, and then which period you're in. So that since every Studio One class is doing this today, so they don't get mixed up. So make sure you put period 2 on the back with your name. Okay, you don't need to put my name, just your name. Okay, so name and period on that smooth side, and then the lined textured side is going to be where we draw our value scale. Okay, so I'll wait a minute because I still see people going back up and grabbing some blending stumps and erasers. And it's okay, you can use either the pink eraser or the white eraser. Either one is fine. Eventually, I'm also going to show you how to use a kneaded eraser, which is the type of eraser that's kind of like gum, and you can pull it apart to clean it. But for today, a regular eraser is fine. Okay. Okay, so just make sure your name and period is on the back, on the smooth side. And if you end up drawing your value scale on the wrong side of the paper, it's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. But if you can identify the back and the front and draw on the textured side, that's great. We're going to start our value scale the same way we did with our graphite one. And this does not have to be perfect. If you prefer using a ruler, you can do it, but I'm not requiring this to be 100% perfect in terms of straightness and evenness. Okay. So remember with our graphite value scale, and I'm using a pencil, a regular pencil for this. Instead of charcoal, I'm just using a pencil. Any pencil will do. This happens to be an H pencil, but you could use a regular pencil, mechanical pencil, soft pencil, doesn't matter. Draw that long rectangle. And then remember how we did it where it was super easy to create 8 boxes. The first thing you do is just divide it in half and just eyeball it to see what's, half. You don't have to measure it. Okay. So just draw that long rectangle, divide it in half. Mario.
Oh.
Use a regular pencil to create this instead of the charcoal pencil, okay? So any of the pencils will do. Just make that long rectangle, divide it in half. I know I'm going pretty slow here, but I'm just making sure everyone can catch up because some people are still grabbing supplies. The pencil sharpener is
It's a
alive.
ghost. Yes, it is alive. It's from YouTube.
Okay. All right. Next step is to take this side of the rectangle and divide it in half. Okay. Again, just eyeballing it, not looking for perfection. So this half of the rectangle, I just divided that half in half again. Okay. And then this side of the rectangle, I'm going to divide this half in half again. So we have quarters. Okay. Now we have 4 quarters. And then there's just one more step to dividing each of these in half again so that we come up with 8 eighths. Okay. So I'm going to take this little rectangle and divide it in half. And I'm going to take this little rectangle and divide it in half. And again here. And last one here. And now we have fairly even eighths, 8 boxes to start our value scale in. And for our last value scale in graphite, we labeled it. We're not going to need to label it this time. And the first box, when we did our graphite one, we were using white paper, and this is light gray paper. So instead of leaving the first box blank, instead we're using the white charcoal pencil in the first one, and we're filling that box in nice and bright white. Okay, really bright. So that means like pressing fairly hard with the white charcoal pencil and making sure that it fills in nicely. So it's full of white charcoal. We're trying to get a nice bright white value so that this is going to be our lightest value at this end of the value scale. You can see I'm going over it multiple times to fill in any gray spots so that all you can see is white. It's going to be a little dusty because of pressing hard with the pencil. And so you can just kind of tap. See how some little white dust comes off when I tap it like this? And tap it. Or you can just hold it up and blow it off like that. Blow the dust off. Okay. So that now we have a nice, really bright white start to our value scale. And for the second one, we're going to use the white again.
White?
Yep. But this time, instead of pressing hard, we're going to press a little lighter. And it's still going to have white charcoal on the top, but some of the gray paper is going to show through so that it looks like a lighter gray than the paper by itself. So this time, I have lighter pressure, holding the pencil and not pressing down as hard onto the paper. Okay. And I would not use the blending stump for this because you're going to get either graphite or black charcoal in it. If you would like to blend this, I recommend just using the tip of one of your fingers, the cleanest tip of your finger, and just lightly blending it. You do not have to press hard for this, just to get that charcoal adhering to the paper and get that nice light gray value. So you can see clearly that this value is a very bright white and this one is a very, very light gray next to it. You can see it's a different value. Okay. And then this third box is going to be left blank because the gray value of our paper is perfect value to be one step darker than this one, right? So we want to go brightest and then slightly darker and then slightly darker. So this gray right here is the perfect spot next to this to leave the box blank. So we're putting nothing in our third box. Right? So when we move on to our fourth box, we're going to use the Vine charcoal, the little round stick. So not the square compressed charcoal. That's the darker one. We're going to use the lighter charcoal. This is called Vine charcoal, and it's the round stick. Okay. And we're going to go really, really light pressure with this. Okay. Light pressure in the fourth box. Remember, we're leaving box 3 blank, and we are using light pressure here. And you'll see it looks kind of dark right now. It looks a little bit dark right now, but when I use my finger to blend it, you're going to see it lighten up. Okay, so I just put a little bit of Vine charcoal in there, and then just watch how beautifully it blends. Like when you just use the tip of your finger, I'm using my pinky finger right now. See how that turns into a really smooth light gray? It looked so dark when I put it on at first, but when you smooth it out, it disperses that that dust, and it really just gives you this beautiful light gray color. I'll pause there for everyone to catch up. It went flying. Okay, so fifth box. This is number 5 right here. We're going to use the Vine charcoal once again. Vine charcoal. And we're going to put a little bit more on this time. It looks super dark right now, but remember when you blend Vine charcoal, it really lightens up. So I'm just putting a bit more on than I did in my last box. It's going to lighten up significantly. But I'm still using pretty light pressure here. It just looks really dark when you first put it on. Then I'll use my pinky finger again, or you can use the blending stump for this one. And I'm going to lighten up that color by smoothing around the charcoal dust. Okay. It got out of the lines a little bit, so I'll use my eraser. It also got a little bit dark, so I'm going to rub it some more. So look at what happens when I rub it some more. See how it picks up the dust onto my finger? So my finger is almost like an eraser. I'm picking up some of the dust just because it got a little too dark. And now it's good. Okay, so if you find that you got it too dark, all you have to do is just pick up some of the dust. Don't worry, we'll wash our hands at the end of class. And then I got a little smudges outside of the box, so I'm just going to clean it up just so I have a nice, neat value scale. Always like to have good craftsmanship, neatness. All right, and so that's about how dark you want this box to be. And we're finished with the Vine charcoal now. We used Vine charcoal for these 2 middle boxes. And we can put that away. And then for the last 3 boxes, we'll use the charcoal pencil and the compressed charcoal, which are both darker values. And because it is compressed charcoal inside the pencil, it's pretty much the same. So it actually doesn't matter which one you use for these, although I will say for this last box, it's going to be best to use the stick of compressed charcoal, the square stick, in the last box. And you can see what it feels like to use the pencil in the other 2 boxes, or you can use the compressed charcoal for all 3. That's up to you. But experiment with both because you need to, get the feeling of what it's like to use the pencil versus the stick. So I'll just go ahead and use the pencil for this next one. And I'm just going to start filling in lightly, really light pressure because this is a very dark charcoal, much darker than the vine charcoal. So I'm using really light pressure, filling it in. And feel free to either use your fingertips or your blending stump for this. It's up to you. I think I'll use the blending stump this time because I've been using my fingers so far. Okay. So I still have plenty of gray paper showing through. I'm going to blend this out. It's a little bit dark. So I'll lighten it up just a bit because I want to be able to I probably want this darkness in this square instead of this one. So I'll use my fingertip to pull up a little bit of the charcoal dust first. And then what I can do, instead of rubbing the eraser, I'm going to dot the eraser like this. Dotting the eraser is starting to pick up some of the charcoal dust. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so this value here, after I've picked up a little bit of the charcoal dust, is pretty good. I'm going to just blend it one more time to get the dottiness away. Make it a little smoother. And then I'll just erase the smudges on the sides. And I'm ready for the next one. Okay, and then I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to skip this box for now. And I'm going to do the darkest box first. And because I feel like if I do the darkest box first and I have this box, it'll be easier to get a value between this one and the darkest one. So try that with me. Let's see how this goes. Let's try filling in the darkest box with the compressed charcoal, the square one, and get it really nice and dark. It fills in faster with the stick of charcoal than it does with the pencil of charcoal because the pencil tip is so small. And you can turn, if you're doing a really large area, you can turn your compressed charcoal all on its side and just rub the whole stick across the paper. This is a small enough section that we're not doing that. Okay. You can blow your dust away before blending. I just blew the dust away. And then I'll take my blending stump and make sure that there's no gray paper peeking through and that it's just a solid black square. Once you use the blending stump, you'll find that there's more charcoal dust that comes up, so you can blow that away again. And now I feel like it's going to be easier to get a value here that's between this one and this one. Because now we can see what our end goal is. We can see what the step before is. And we can easily, I'll use the charcoal pencil for this one, can more easily get a value that's between these two. So I'm starting to fill that in. And I'm going to stop there because that might be enough. I can always layer more charcoal on top afterwards if I need to. So I'm going to stop there and blend and see what it looks like.
Okay. Blend.
To me, it looks really similar to the lighter step before it. So I'm going to need to layer some more on top, but I'll finish blending first. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit darker with another layer of charcoal pencil. Pressing lightly. This is light pressure. Just getting another layer. And then blend again. And it's perfect. Right between the value, right between the dark gray and the black. I think that was a good decision to do the black first and then this one. Okay. And that's done. Okay. And you can, when you're done with your value scale, you can use the bottom section or the top section if you have more space on the top. And you can practice blending. So I'm going to take some white charcoal here, leave a space here, and do some vine charcoal lightly, vine charcoal more dark, charcoal pencil, pressed charcoal. And then you can try using your blending stump and your finger to get a blended scale.
We're not doing that. See this blank.
And then I'm going to start using my finger down here since it's going into white. Use a clean finger for the white. This one, these fingers are all full of charcoal, so use a clean finger down here, blend it into the light gray. Okay, so there's more of a blend down there. So it's a this is a stepped value scale, and this is a blended value scale. I'm gonna darken it up a little more at the end. Brighten it up a little more at this end. And there we go. Stepped value scale versus blended value scale. You probably need a little more time to finish up, and that's fine. Just make sure that your name and period is on the back, and we'll put it on the cart again so that I can spray these. You'll eventually keep this in your portfolio, but I want to spray it with hairspray first so that it doesn't get charcoal all over everything else in your portfolio. Make sure your name's on the back.